Good morning. So here we are in April. Energy is intensifying. Mars is getting ready to move into its home sign of Aries, where it will join several other planets that are already in Aries. So whatever area of your chart is being activated by the sign of Aries, uh, if you're not already feeling it, you should definitely be feeling it by the time Mars enters into Aries on the 9th. The other thing that's going to happen this month is Uranus is going to change signs and move from Taurus into Gemini, and that's going to really change what I would call the frequency of energy. Taurus, being an earth sign, is very stable and steady and grounded, and so it had the capacity to sort of absorb the disruption, the energy or frequency that Uranus carries more easily. Gemini is far more frenetic and unstable, and so the two energies combined, I'm sure we're going to be feeling and experiencing and seeing a lot of sort of unpredictable energy shifts. So in particular, if you have any planets in the early degrees of Gemini, you'll be the ones feeling it first. So that's another key point in the chart to be looking at. I would look at 0 degrees Aries for when Mars enters into Aries on the 9th, and then also for 0 degrees Gemini when Uranus moves into Gemini. I think that's on the 25th. Don't quote me on that, though. I don't have anything written in front of me here. And I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself with all the transits that are going on right now. So what I want to talk about today is what I would call applied astrology. I feel like in my lifetime, since I've been studying astrology, when I first started studying astrology I guess that was the early 90s, I was in my early 20s. And at that time, like the first charts that I did for myself, I had to go through an ephemeris and I had to draw the actual chart. That's what it was like doing charts then. There were some very early software programs that a handful of astrologers used, but I was teaching myself, and that's what I did. Nowadays, there is like everything available on the internet, right? So you can just put into the search engine free astrological chart, and then a site will pop up and you can put in your information and it'll print off a chart, and then you can go back into your search engine and say, what does this mean? So you can have like all your placements cast and figured out for you, and you can move them around and change your house systems and do whatever you want, all online for free. And then you can also get all your interpretations. And so what I see happening is on Instagram, I'm noticing a slew of very young people who are giving astrological readings, essentially. And it perplexes me, I guess, is what it is. Part of me feels like I need to be generous to the younger generation and accept that they're coming in with sort of an updated software system because they're of a different generation. There's all kinds of things that are already built into their consciousness that weren't in my era. So on that level, I want to recognize what it is that they're contributing. The other side of that, though, that I see is that it's really easy to just take that information and because it's something that interests us, kind of position ourselves as the expert. And I think about this when I was young, when I was in my 20s. I remember my father used to love to be the skeptic and basically poke at me and get me to have to defend the reasons why I thought astrology was valid or worthwhile putting my time and energy in. And it used to really piss me off. It used to get me really riled up. But at some point, I realized that it was like trying to have a debate with somebody who was a high school math teacher when you were holding like a PhD in astrophysics. Now, not to say that I was the end-all be-all when it came to astrology, but I absolutely knew more about astrology than he did. So what was the point in me debating the merits of something that he actually didn't know anything about? He just decided that it was not worth paying attention to. No, he was actually a math teacher at one point. He has a mathematics background, so I'm sure it was coming from a from his perspective, a grounded cynicism. Anyway, it was a good lesson. It taught me to recognize that there are some arguments worth having and some not worth having. Like, know who your opponent is and understand what it is the debate's about. And so when I think about what's happening in the online space now, or just in the world in general, like, there are so many things that are mainstream in the vernacular now that weren't just 10 years ago. And I see a lot of that as the shift of Neptune having moved through Pisces, and then Saturn's most recent transit through Pisces as well, where there was just a lot of emphasis on things like our intuition, nervous system regulation, astrology, just all these things that are sort of invisible and unseen, things that would fall into the domain of Pisces. And then with Neptune moving through its sign of rulership, everything was really amplified and became much more mainstream. And then, of course, Saturn functions by creating a structure, a system, creating like concrete and tangible outcomes. And so we're seeing that now in the world. And these words, these ideas are being thrown around by all kinds of people. And what I see when I think of the younger people in particular that are talking about astrology, the skepticism that I have about that is that many of them appear to be in their 20s, which when I was in my 20s, I was doing the same thing, but I wasn't doing it on a live video like I am now. I was doing it for myself. I was studying my chart. And occasionally when somebody asked me, I might offer my insights. When I felt ready, I began to read charts one-on-one. I wasn't espousing this for the masses or anything, or claiming to be an expert. I was simply looking at one person's chart and telling them what I saw. And what I saw was based on my lived experience. So this is what I want to get at, is that to me, the value of astrology is in its application. It's not in just a perceptual worldview, or as fortune telling, or as an excuse for why things are the way they are, or a reason why we don't have to change or grow, or a reason why we're stuck. I see astrology as this very effective tool to help us understand our capacity in life and the energies that we're holding. So I can look at a chart and I can see, oh, here's a natural capacity to hold this type of energy, this frequency or expression of energy. This is an area where that might be hindered, limited, or challenged. The transits are going to show me how I can actually work with that to unlock, release, expand, whatever it is that's happening in the chart energetically. But it needs to be applied in our lives. We need to have some kind of lived reality, not only to be able to check and understand that, oh, okay, this is actually working, or this is how it works, or I thought it would look like this, but it actually looked like that. And so I interpreted this maybe from a more limited scope than what was actually available. But it's also because what good is it unless we actually live it? What good is it unless we actually use it? We're diminishing our own capacity when we deny that there's actually a relationship between who we are as an energetic entity in the greater cosmos of things. The one thing we recognize when we look at the chart is that absolutely nothing in the chart happens in isolation. That's a given. You cannot look at the chart and say, oh, you're a Leo, so XYZ, because that means that we're not taking into account the relationship that one's sun has with every other planet, and the interaction of that static moment in time with everything that's happening as energy and the planets continue to move through time. So the benefit of astrology is that it places us in relationship with a larger whole. It reminds us that nothing is happening in my experience in isolation. It's always happening in relation to multiple things around me. And it helps me to understand and be able to decipher what those things actually are based on the movement of the planets in relation to where they were at the moment in time when I was actually born. So right now, we have all this energy with these planets moving into Aries, and it's asking us to start new, to do something new. So looking at the spot in our chart where that Aries energy is, it's inviting us to say we've got to step into a new energetic capacity here. We have to look at using our energy in that area of our lives in a different way. So depending on what aspects are happening or where that lands in your chart in relation to your natal placements, you might be expanding, you might be focusing, you might be relating. All of these things are determined by what's happening in your chart, but ultimately they come back to, what is my energetic capacity in this moment? Is it being restricted? Is it being amplified in some way? And in what area of my life does that actually show up, so that I can look at what's happening and say, oh, okay, this is happening in my 7th house. And so I see that with the placement in my 7th house, Saturn is actually sitting right on the descendant. And so now I know that there's some sort of commitment that I'm asked to make. There's some sort of issue in relationship that I need to take responsibility for. Maybe it's taking responsibility for my part within the relationship. There might be something that I need to say, I've got to stand my ground in a particular relationship. So wherever that point is happening in our chart, I invite you to look at it from an energetic perspective. What is the energy telling you about your particular experience? And so it's asking us to expand in some way. The energy is accelerating for many of us. There's a sense of momentum, and oftentimes there's a sense of false urgency. So when we look at the chart and we see all this Aries energy, oftentimes in the world, we're being rewarded for action, for output, for effort. And Aries will really fall into that. Aries, especially with Mars, will be like, yeah, charge forward, gung ho. So be mindful of that. Be mindful that, is this real and authentic? Or is this just what I've always been doing? Because that Aries energy asks for something new. We're being asked to embody that energy in ways that we've not embodied before. And oftentimes, where this intersects with nervous system regulation and our intuition, is that as the planets are moving through the signs, every time we're seeing this like rotation through the sky, there's an evolution that's happening. And that evolution's not just happening out there, it's happening in here. So this expression of energy, when we go on this false sense of urgency, we'll know, because the actions that we're taking, they'll be the same actions we've always taken. It might feel like we're doing something new and different. We might even be setting goals and telling ourselves that we're doing something different, but the result will end up being the same. And the reason for that is because we haven't actually expanded our capacity in order to experience something different from a nervous system standpoint. So our nervous systems are wired usually from birth on our experiences in childhood. And we all have what I would call just like set points. And those set points determine what feels normal, what feels safe, what feels comfortable, what feels acceptable in some cases. So if you think about your relationship, some people repeat the same relationship over and over again. They just keep going from one sort of not great relationship to the next. And then they get frustrated and they don't understand why it's not changing. And they set goals and do all kinds of things to try to like improve their relationship, but they haven't actually turned their attention inward and looked at their nervous system set point. And the nervous system set point is established by what they felt to be safe, comfortable, um, even just like possible as a child when they were young. The same happens financially. The same might happen with our health. The same can happen creatively in terms of possibilities in our life and like what opportunities are available to us. And so, on a global level, as these planetary shifts are happening this year, we're all being asked, the entire planet's nervous system is being asked to expand to a new set point, to move outside of like, okay, what felt safe and familiar and known before. And we'll use this from a geopolitical perspective. We're coming out of an era where it felt safe for the hero to come in and save us. Big, strong United States, go save the world. Like we're leaving that energy behind. But in order to leave that energy behind, collectively, we have to expand what the nervous system set point is that we all agreed on to some extent. And that's difficult work. That's really difficult work. Anything on a collective level is hard because you're trying to get all these people in agreement and to like sort of move in the same direction. I always think of doing anything with more than one person as being like a three-legged race, and you're hopping along and one person's falling down, the other person's trying to carry them, and then one person stands up and the other one falls down. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We're in this place where we're hobbling along in this race with billions of people all tied together. And so the astrology that is most potent and effective right now is the astrology that is specific to you, that is going to help you to be able to expand your nervous system set point, help you to identify, if you don't already know what it feels like to be dysregulated, if you don't know what that feels like in your nervous system, then absolutely get on learning that first. But once you understand what it feels like when your nervous system is dysregulated, then you really want to work on expanding that set point. You want to dive in and figure out, okay, like what does feel safe for me in the realm of relationships, in the realm of finances, in the realm of visibility, in the realm of creativity, in the realm of my health and vitality. Many of us are just settling for some version of reality because we've never actually explored what that set point is from a nervous system perspective. And we absolutely have the capacity to nourish our nervous system, to work with it in very healthy, healing ways. And there are so many tools, resources, teachers that are available now, free and paid if you want to go deeper. Like practices like Qigong, Tai Chi, Yin Yoga, restorative yoga, hiking in the woods, forest bathing, whatever, swimming. These are all great things that help to nourish your nervous system. And the big shift is really just like, what is my intention? What am I really trying to do here? And oftentimes our mindset is, I'm trying to beat myself into submission. I'm trying to do what the collective reality has said I'll be rewarded for if I actually do this. And that's what's really changed, I feel like, with Neptune and Saturn having moved out of Pisces, is that like that doesn't work anymore. Nobody's interested in that. And we see that in the rise of all the different somatic practices and everything that are just like, they're everywhere. Like you could just toss a coin out there and land on something randomly. There's so much going on, so much available. So the thing is, we have to have the intention that like, are we in crisis mode and we're just trying to heal and recover? Lots of us are. But I also think a lot of us aren't there anymore. I think a lot of us have moved on from that. When we think about it from a collective perspective, for a couple of years after COVID, I found myself and others constantly saying, yeah, I don't even remember, was that before COVID or after? We were all kind of like in this daze. We were just sort of like, couldn't remember. It was like we had like collective amnesia. We couldn't remember who we were before COVID or what happened before COVID. It was just like this collective wiping of our memories or something. But I feel like that's lifted now, especially now that the planets have moved into Aries. it doesn't feel like anymore that we're in this place of trying to soothe the nervous system, trying to regulate the nervous system, trying to create safety. Now, that's not true for everybody, but there are a lot of people on the planet who are ready to take the next step, and we absolutely need them to do that. If there are millions of people who are literally not safe right now, we need billions of people to anchor and ground the energy of safety for the collective. And so this is where I see the astrology of 2026 and moving onwards for at least the next 5 years being really supportive and powerful, is in its application in our daily lives. And where it ties into our intuition is that as we start to regulate our nervous system, we, by nature of regulating the nervous system, have to be connected to the body to do that. And when we're connected to the body, what we're automatically doing is increasing our sensitivity, our awareness, our just basically sort of our inner GPS system for understanding how our intuition is speaking to us. Because it's going to speak to us through feeling. It's going to speak to us through random memories that come up. It's going to speak to us through our dreams, through the signs and symbols and synchronicities and conversations that we have. Inevitably, if you're watching this, you'll find either before you watch this or after, there'll be some sort of synchronicity that happens. And all of those things are the ways in which the invisible guidance that we receive from the universe is showing us the way forward, saying, hey, you're on the right track. Keep going with this. And so in order to pay attention to that unseen support that's always there and available for us, the nervous system has to be regulated. If you're not feeling grounded and safe, you're not going to be able to feel that connection to your intuition. So I guess the process that I would say is most helpful to work with is, first, get grounded, get safe, whatever that looks like for you. Find the resources or support if you need it in order to figure out how to manage your own nervous system regulation. Once you've got a couple of tools under your belt, then it's just a matter of practicing them. And that's a big part of what Saturn is about. Saturn loves practice. Saturn loves a structure. Saturn loves repetition, some sort of methodology, So go out there, get that, get your nervous system regulated. Once it's regulated, start working on opening up to your intuitive understanding of all of the unseen support that's constantly showing you the way forward. You're always being led. You're always being guided. You have your own personal spiritual support team. So once you have access to that, then you can start to look at your chart and what's happening astrologically with a different level of insight than maybe you've previously had. And what you're looking for in the chart is to see, where is it that my nervous system needs to expand its capacity or to adjust those set points? Where are my nervous system set points outdated? Where are my nervous system set points causing me to fall into the same pattern over and over again? And then I think that it's a strategy problem, or I think it's a hustle problem, or I think it's a work harder effort and get recognition problem or something. And it's not. It's an inside job. It's always an inside job. The one thing that our intuition and our unseen guidance and support really helps us with is the how. It's constantly like revealing how something happens. Our job is to be receptive. So the nervous system has to be regulated first. We have to have a relationship to our intuition and our unseen guidance and support. And then we have to use the tools at our disposal, our astrological chart being one of them, and utilize those to be able to sort of map out, oh, this is the next step. This is the phase I'm in right now. This is why the cycles of the planets are so helpful, because they give us a structure. They give us a support system. They give us a framework to be able to understand, oh, okay, I'm in a growth period right now. Or, oh no, I'm in a letting go period right now. Or I'm in an integration period right now. Or I'm in a confrontation period or a negotiation period. All of these things can be revealed to us through the chart, but they're useless unless we actually apply them. So that's my rant. Getting back to the Instagram influencers and the astrological world and the young people. The thing that I guess take question with is, if you're getting your astrological information from somebody who's not old enough to have actually lived through the astrological transits that they're talking about, then I would question the validity of that, or the value of that as an experience for you. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because we're having these transits right now that have never happened before, which means lots of people can talk about them, and they don't have to have any kind of track record around understanding what they actually mean, because none of us know what they mean because we haven't actually lived them. So just like a real simple thing, if you're going through your Saturn return and you want to know like how to navigate that, or what the energy is calling for, or how best to work with the challenges that that might present, don't go to somebody who hasn't actually gone through a Saturn return. I'm going to leave it at that.